welcome back to Your Property Empire. Now it's time for an update on what's happening with the property market around Australia. We welcome Charles Tarbey from Century 21.
Thank you, Ingrid.
Okay,
Tom,
let's take us through some of these charts we've got. We've got national auction clearance rates, and there's no surprise it's been...
No, it's actually been pretty good, Ingrid. Last few weeks has been very good. A lot of consistency. So they sat at 70.4% for the average across the country. And interestingly, that's 20% higher than this time last year. So there is a definite increase if you look at year over year. But there was some star performance because Sydney has been performing very well. It did 77% clearance rates. Melbourne had a 71% clearance rate. But one of the standouts was Adelaide. Now, somebody said, oh yes, but there may not have been many auctions, but it's not about that. It's about the percentage. And there was a 74.5% clearance rate in Adelaide this week. And last week it was 68.9%. So I don't know whether something's happening in Adelaide that's any different. But so the market across the country is very, very consistent in the auction clearance rates.
Are you surprised at how strong it is, though?
Not really, because of the lack of stock. That's one big thing in certain areas, and of course the interest rates, are very low. And if anybody's going to have a chance at it, now's the time. So I would say that the activity will increase because of spring coming. Normally you'd see properties coming on the market now advertising for auction, but because the 7th of September is the election, that's 3-week period now that we've got between now and then is sort of going to be broken up a bit. So it does cause a few problems. I think people will wait till after the election or thereabouts.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's look at homes advertised for sale. Yeah,
look, I'd like to say that they're climbing, but in some areas they are, but in most across the country it's a negative 3.33%. Last week it was negative 0.08%. The week before was negative 0.73%. The week before negative 1.73%. So it really isn't improving yet. But again, I think with the auction clearance rates, as with the auctions and the auctions coming up, that's going to be affected by the election.
We are expecting, Ingrid, a lot of stock, as Charles was talking about the disruption of the 7th September election. It's not just the auction day for the 7th September, it's also the fact that people don't want to have their campaigns affected
in the middle of it.
And then you've got the long weekend, the first week in October. So potentially what we're looking at is a lot of stock
coming
October, November, December.
You're going to have a weekend off on the 7th weekend, by the sounds of things. Doing much at all.
Yes.
Charles, take us through.
All right, sorry.
We've got to get through it because we haven't got long left. Residential rent price movements.
Yeah, look, they're really a bit steady again. Sydney's 11.8% since January last year increase. Melbourne 7.15%, but Perth is still climbing at 17.69% with an average between the three of them of 12.22. So that's been sitting pretty steady. It's not growing rapidly, but there's still strength in that market until the first home buyers start buying and start increasing the vacancy rates, which
we're going to look at right now.
Ask me now.
Yep, residential vacancy rates.
Those vacancy rates, Sydney's been pretty steady, 2.41% for the period of time. Again, Melbourne 1.82%, and Perth it's actually 3.5. Now it's been in the threes for the last few weeks. Perth has, so there could be a sign of movement there. But overall across the country, 2.57%. So not much movement above or below that 3% has been very, very steady for a long time.
All right, Tom, what do you think of that?
I think overall, in summary, that Charles, you are an absolute genius at remembering everything there. An absolute genius, 100%. We don't have enough stock. More stock is needed, and we've got a high clearance rate, demand and supply, so we want sellers to come on.
Good stuff. Tom Panos, Charles Tarbey, thanks for your time. And Chris Gray will be back in the chair next week. Until then, good night.